this flooding, as it were. And these changing weather conditions and patterns, they make farming more difficult and less predictable. Ordinarily, I remember many years back in the village, because yes, I was born in the city, but I go home to my grandma and my grandfather. They are able to predict when they should start cutting the grasses, when it is time to start farming, and what have you. But with all of these things changing, we have a problem being able to, predict when we should start farming, at what point, and what have you. And then another important aspect to this high cost of farm products is transportation challenges. Yes, where you would not farm and those products will remain in the farm. You need to transport them, to the market before they even get to the end users. And so when roads are flooded and our infrastructures at the rural areas are damaged, then there will be delay in the movement of food from farms to markets. Yes, just picture it in your mind. When you see some of these things, when roads are flooded, even the cost of that transportation will be higher. Any driver that accepts to move your farm products will make it an all-time expensive thing. Oh, because they know that fewer drivers will be interested in transporting your farm products. So, I mean, that's also a huge challenge. And this, it also contributes to rising food prices. Sometimes you go to the market to buy things as small as peppers, and then you are wondering, pepper, ewedu, alefu, all of these vegetables, why this and that? Have you forgotten that we need to transport them from the farms to the marketplaces before you can come and buy? And they are going to factor in the cost of transportation into it. And what does this mean for families? Of course, the impact on families cannot be overemphasized, because one, we know that there will be reduced in meal sizes. Yes, you are slicing your yam to boil, you are measuring the rice you want to cook, but because they are expensive, you are like, no, I'm not giving you three slices, you're having one and a half, or you're having two. We have to make do with what is available. And this is our reality in our families. You used to cook three derikas of rice or three mudus or whatever you used to, and you're like, no, what in what is very expensive. I mean, we cannot continue to cook all of that. We need to reduce, because the cost of buying is high. So in the family, we have reduced meal sizes. Sometimes we all live in Nigeria, my people. We talk of 011. Okay, breakfast is the most important meal of the day. So we talk of 101. Yes, most families, including me, I do 101, I do 011. As the Lord provides, my dear, we skip meals in this part of the world because, hey, the cost of buying food is quite expensive. And then one of the most important aspects I want us to look into is that we buy less nutritious food. And that's a problem health-wise, because instead of you to look at, oh, we are looking at balanced diet. What will these children eat that will be helpful? What will the women eat? I mean, women of childbearing age, even if they are elderly children, even if elderly women, they are teenagers, even our children generally, whether they are male or female, you need to look at how to balance their meal so that they are able to get the required nutritious value from every meal they take in. Because sometimes but with the cost of things, you buy less nutrition, spend more of your income on food. And that's a big problem, because you are not only going to budget for just feeding, you will transport yourself to work. before you receive the next salary. Even if you are a business owner or whatever you do, you need to transport yourself to your place of business to be able to make or earn an income. And so, how do we say that we want to spend, more of our income on food? That is a huge gap. It's a huge problem. And then women and low income households are the most affected. Those in our communities, the local communities, they are the most affected because, it affects them more, their movement, their ways of navigating to even get to the farm themselves are a huge gap. If you are just tuning in, you are welcome, and this is your program, Climate Care, which is on Women Radio WFM 91.7. If you are just joining, this is Climate Care, and today we are discussing why families are paying more for food. That is to tell you how climate change affects every aspect of our lives. Climate change does not just affect our environment and what have you, it affects every other area of our life. And we would like you to be a part of this program. Do well to call our phone lines 0700 0917 09155 917 our toll-free line for women 0800 Do well to drop us a message on WhatsApp on 07031756537 Do well to watch us on all our social media handle on YouTube at WFM917, on social media at WFM917, and you can listen and watch us live, at www.wfm91.7.com. You are still tuned into Women Radio WFM 91.7. The time is 15 minutes before 12 noon, and this is still the program Climate Care. And today we have been, looking at the issue around climate care and how it affects the prices of our food, how it affects us as communities, as families, and what have you. And then it's also important to look at the fact that climate change affects food security. Climate change affects food security because climate change is making food less stable and less affordable. Okay. Climate change is making food less stable and less affordable. Without urgent action, more families in a population of over 200 million people, more families will struggle to access enough nutritious food because, again, we are not just talking about eating, we are talking about eating nutritious food because we don't want to come down with health challenges, having to go to the hospital or what have you. So, in all of this, we are not just raising awareness, we are also looking at possible solutions and way forward. So, what do we advise on climate care? Number one will be climate smart agriculture. You can't do without this. If you live in a compound where you have little bit of space, we have said this on climate care. Whether it is your sack, your used jeans, the jeans that you wear, you can use it to start planting within your space. You can plant your scent leaf, your pepper, what have you. Yes, in your sacks. You can even have a tire, your used tire. You just use it, fill it up with sand and manure, and start looking at climate smart agriculture. You don't need to wait until you have a piece of land. You have vegetables, just to make food in your home. You would have pepper and you have what have you around you. And then let's look at better irrigation systems. How are our irrigation systems within our farm? Are we making it to be too bad that our water will not have a way to flow, and thereby we start looking at um, flooding? And so, what do we do to address flooding? That is why we look at better irrigation systems. Another important one will be support for smallholder farmers. Can smallholder farmers begin to access grants to grow their farm? I know there are many opportunities out there where you see smallholder farmers are able to get grants and even the necessary devices they need, the necessary support, even technical support that they need to improve their farming skills. All of these are ways to support our farmers, whether you're farming in your home or outside of your home. It's also important that we look at improved food storage. How do we store our food? You don't want to farm and then your beans, your rice, weevil takes over it. No, we don't want any of those. We want a situation whereby we store our food appropriately so that the one we struggle to get, we do not allow weevil and other insects, to take over some of this food that we have been able to get from our farm. And again, how are we able to adapt stronger climate adaptation policies? We need policies that will help our farmers to adapt to climate change so that they know, so that there are documents that they can go to, study. It's not only those who are professionals in academia that need to study policies. No, climate change also needs stronger policies on adaptation, not just around climate care generally, but how do we begin to look at ways to adapt effectively as the world? It's not only Nigeria that is battling with climate change, but as a country, as a nation, we should move from, just raising awareness to also adapting policies that will drive change for us, because communities need to reduce food waste and support local production. If you in any way are part of those who waste food or whatever, please cut on it, because there are other families somewhere who do not even have even a single meal to eat. And it will be disheartening to find out that while some persons are struggling to even have one meal, there's an average child in a village without a meal to eat, and someone somewhere is wasting food. So, as food prices are rising, not only because of inflation, no, it's not only inflation that drives food prices, but also because of climate change, from farms to markets to our homes, because it's a chain of reaction. From farms, it gets to markets to our homes. Climate change is shaping what we eat and what we can afford. So, as we reflect today, our message is clear. Climate change is not just an environmental issue, it is also a food security issue. So we need to move from awareness to action. As a community, as a woman, as a young teenager, as a child, we all have a role to play. We need to move, from awareness to action, because protecting the climate means protecting our food future. We do not want to get to a future where there's no food. It will be devastating. When we can't even eat. That will be famine, and we don't want to get to that situation as a nation. And that's why we keep preaching on this program on how we need to take responsibility as individuals, as communities, and even as partner agencies who would like to partner with us to look at how we can address some of the salient concerns of the average community, the children, the youths, the elderly, and even persons with disabilities in our various communities who are farmers. How do we begin to look at assistive technology to ensure that climate change leaves no one behind? Let us move from awareness to action, because protecting the climate means protecting our food future. Thank you for listening to Climate Care on Women Radio WFM 91.7. All thanks to my producer, Yus- Rose Yusuf Kaisar, and my executive producer, Tom Okewale Shonaya. I am Susan Kelechi Inhoma, and as we go through this weekend, I want you to have this at the back of your mind. Stay informed, stay responsible, and remain climate conscious. Do have a fantastic weekend until we come your way next week, Friday at 11:30 a.m. It's cheers from this end.